Hey, what's up, guys? It's Wes. So I'm a little quiet right now. It's like 1 in the morning. Everyone's asleep. But I wanted to get a video out for this week. It's been super busy. Been doing some work I cannot show yet. But yeah, this topic has been on my mind for a little bit. I actually got a question about this in my direct messages, and I thought it'd be kind of a perfect time to bring this up, because this way you can kind of see me work on personal work. So a lot of times, well, whenever I'm doing the YouTube stuff, I'm never working on non-disclosure agreement stuff. Usually anything under NDA or non-disclosure agreement means you can't show it, you can't talk about it until the person that owns it or the client decides it's okay to see it. So that's how I spend a majority of my art time, is working on art that I cannot talk about until it's released or published, or you know what I mean. So that's why, every once in a while I have to find either a study to do or something to record for these videos. But I thought it'd be fun this time to kind of show a little behind the curtain and see some of my personal work. And this is a personal project that's actually pretty big. It's pretty substantial. I already have like 7 or 8 paintings for it. But really what it's going to be is this big world guide, kind of a world building exercise. It's going to allow me to do things like short stories. I might be able to do some sequential art, so like comic book style things. I'm a big fan of Adrian Smith, and he made something called The Chronicles of Hate, and it's really cool. Beautiful looks. It's all in black and white. It's very kind of noir based, but it's horror. It's really cool. But I've also been on a big Brooks Kim and Thomas Elliott kick lately. And Brooks Kim is very good, great painter. And he actually has the cover of the most recent Imagine FX magazine at the time of this recording. And he talks about, sketching portraits and using charcoal brushes and dry pastels, and how people like to use more wet media, but how he's really started appreciating the dry media approach. So I thought I'd try a little bit of it. I'm using Krita on this. And then with Thomas Elliott, a lot of the old school, and it's funny, he's really young, but I consider him an old school artist because of the way he does stuff at Games Workshop. You got your Carl Kapinski, your Adrian Smith, your John Blanche, people that do a lot of ink painting, so ink pen sketches and then ink wash over it, which I love the look of. I need to actually try my hand at it, so the best way to do it right now is digital. So I kind of took the Brooks Kim and the Thomas Elliott vibe, but then after a certain point I wanted to break out the nice 360 light brushes for Krita, which are free. I have a video about it, about if Krita is still worth it, but I have a link to the brushes in that video, and I really like them. I have never used them in black and white before. I always use them with color and kind of smear colors together and really cool stuff. So I'm interested to see what the black and white is gonna do for the oil paint look. But yeah, this is a personal project of mine. It's gonna be, it's not going to be out for a while, probably a year or more, but it's something that I want to put together. I think it'd be fun. It already has a little bit of background lore. So really it's just a reason to exercise. And that brings about the point of this video, which is why personal projects are actually pretty important, and why you should consider having one if you don't already. And I think there's one that's kind of a personal deal. It's a good way to just recharge your batteries. You're guaranteed to do artwork that you want to do in the style that you want to do it if you work on a personal project. You're not, handheld by clients. You're not on a style guide. You're not having to get everything exactly right. It's a little more freeform, which, I work very well with restrictions. Like if you give me an exact size template with the exact type of colors, with the exact, I actually feel more comfortable that way. I'm a big believer that rules and limitations kind of set you free, because you don't have to worry about what color out of all 89 million color combinations do I need to use. You have a set, like here are the 10 that need to be in the painting, with a color guide or, an art Bible or whatever you want to call it. Every company calls it something different, but like a visual aid guide being like, hey, when you paint Boba Fett, make sure his helmet is this color. it's helpful. But with a personal project, that it's all up to you. So you have to kind of flex a different part of your brain to where you have to make decisions on the fly and you have to see if they work. And it's a place where you can experiment. You can experiment with topics, like the type of work you're doing. If I were to do, life drawing, or if I were to do very cartoony, illustrative Pixar style stuff that I don't normally do, a personal project would be a great way to do that, is kind of set myself some deadlines, see what I can get done, and kind of work in that area. And there's no stakes. It's not, if it's bad, who cares? At least I got some personal growth out of it. But I do think it is good to recharge your batteries. And I think that's what I'm running into right now. Is I'm really thrilled with the stuff I'm working on right now. It's just so time consuming and so exhausting, especially with having kiddos in the house, and now we're doing summer stuff, and there's a lot going on. So I thought, okay, now would be a good time to, whenever I'm not working on the client side, maybe I can start dabbling and experimenting and stretching out in this personal kind of IP, if you want to call it that. I don't even think it's that big, but it's like it's just a thing that I think, keeping it close to the chest, a cool project, something that I can always work on, is really relaxing. And I think it's a great place. A lot of people get this idea that when you're a professional artist, you get paid to experiment. Oh, I'm going to work with this client and they kind of gave me free rein, so now I can kind of do some crazy stuff, and I get paid money to experiment and really flourish and blossom out my artistic motifs or style or whatever. And I don't know, that could be that way for some people, but I can tell you that is not the way I do it. If somebody hires me, they probably hired me for a very specific reason, and I want to stay locked into that reason. I don't want to start reinventing the wheel. I don't want to, my deal with my clients, and I say this to all my art directors, I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you if not daily updates, every other day updates, because I don't want any surprises. I don't want you all to have surprises. I don't want to be blindsided by a big change that needs to be made whenever we're already 40 hours into a painting. You know what I mean? I'm very incremental. Okay, is this looking good? Okay, are the characters in the correct place? Do you like this pose? Do you like this camera angle? Do you like these colors? Do you like this value structure? Check the boxes. Get it done right. No mistakes, no surprises. And thankfully, I've had a pretty good career so far doing that. I'm only 4 years in the business, but I've been very fortunate I've been working with great people and great teams, and just a lot of fun, so I'm going to stick with that. That's got me this far, dance with the person that brought you. So I'm going to do that. But on the personal stuff, that's where I can really start digging in, and you can experiment and you can take big, huge, enormous risks. And then if they pay off, if you get excited about it, oh, okay, well, maybe this is a good way to go. With this one, for instance, it's just kind of a Viking dude. You know what I mean? It's very kind of generic. Big beard, long hair, Thor style. And this was really just to use the brushes, really get in there with some charcoal, some graphite stuff. But then, as it got further along, I was like, well, maybe if I start introducing more oil paint stuff, but stay in black and white, how can we make this look? And that's where it really started getting exciting. So you start taking chances, and who knows, maybe I like this method of working to where I get charcoal and graphite, get really thick, kind of landing zones on where I want things, really map out the structure, and then come in later with the oil paint and do that. That's how I would work on a canvas. That's how I would work traditionally. So why not do it here? And I know if you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you've probably noticed that I paint that way pretty much every single time. But there are small nuances in the order that I do things in, and that kind of shake me out of my comfort zone. And with this one, I wanted to stay very sketchy and have the energy of the sketch, but then go in almost near the end and really polish it with the oil brushes and maybe make the skin a little bit more rendered, a little bit more visually interesting than the rest of it. Keep the rest of it kind of loosey-goosey. And yeah, and see where we're at. So, like I said, this isn't a super long video. I just wanted to talk about, the importance of a personal project. Having something that you have on the back burner can always be nice. It can be this nice kind of comfort food if you want to work, if you want to kind of expand your skill set, but you don't want to make, fan art. You don't want to make, do a may sketch a day or like draw this in your style, or you don't want to do any of those like social media influenced things. Make your own project. Make your own thing. What's the type of job that you would want to work on? And make art for that. Like if you want to work on card games, like not that you have to fully design a card game, but if you're like, hey, if I was the head creator, art director of a card game, what would the art on the cards look like? Or it could be something like, okay, I kind of know what the art would look like, but what do the borders on the cards look like? How can I integrate those borders into my painting? You know what I mean? It could be any sort of like wild pie in the sky idea, but think about it. Like it's fun to start experimenting and really have your imagination kick in, because for other pros out there, or maybe you're a hobbyist and you're a weekend warrior or whatever, but you're doing art regularly. You do it on a regular basis, maybe not every day, but a few times a week at least. You know that you can kind of get into a rut, and it's not artist block. It's not like, oh, I just don't know what to paint. I have no ideas. If you're like me, you probably have too many ideas. So you decide to work on none of them, But pick one. Pick one of those ideas and kind of flesh it out. Write some notes, like type it out and be like, okay, if this is my prompt, if an art director came to me, if this was the idea, what would I do? And if I had free reign, it could be my thing with my, signature look. What would I want it to look like? How would I want it to feel? And I think there's a lot of power in that. A lot of times we don't take care of ourselves, and that can be said for a lot of things in life, but we don't. We focus on, either the achievements of others, or we look at how everybody else is doing, or, hey, is everyone good? Everyone have a drink? Everyone good? Like you're kind of the, my wife's friends nicknamed me Mr. Mayor, because whenever we're in a big group setting, I check on everybody. I'm like, you doing good? You need anything? I'm already up. I can grab you, but you can only do that so much. You can't pour from an empty bucket. And working on a personal project like this is probably, in my opinion, maybe the best way to recharge. You're still using those creative muscles. You're still partaking in artwork, in the creation of painting or music or whatever you do. But you're doing it with the sole purpose, just the sole purpose of doing it for you. And there's a lot of power in that. So yeah, I hope you're all doing well. Like I said, been real busy. Can't wait to show you some stuff. And most recently, the Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Maledictum starter kit just got launched. They're taking pre-orders for the physical one. It should be out later this year, but you can get the PDF right now. My name's in the credits. I was able to do some visual development on it and stuff like that. The artwork's still not out there for it yet that I did. So I wonder if they're going to use it more for marketing or more of the visual dev side. So if it's the visual dev side, that's cool, and I'm super glad it was helpful, but that also means I'm not allowed to ever show it, which is kind of a bummer. But there you go. There's another good reason to have a personal project. If you really loved something you made for a client and you cannot show it, there's no rule in the rule book that says you cannot make something in that style using what you learned, maybe the composition, maybe the colors you really liked. Make your own thing with those same colors. You learned a lot. You spent a lot of time on those paintings and on that work for a client. It's not all to waste. This business is pretty cutthroat, because if you're making something for a client and they choose not to publish it, they choose not to show it, you have your hands tied. You cannot show it either. It's not yours anymore. You made it for something else. You hear about this in game development all the time. There's like concept art for games from 20 years ago that never got made. Beautiful artwork. You can't ever see it. It's behind locked vaults, just in case the publisher wants to bring it back or whatever. It's a cruel mistress. You know what I mean? Like, you make this stuff, you pour your heart into it, and sometimes you don't see it. And sometimes nobody ever gets to see it. And yeah, sure, you get paid for your time or whatever, but like, the real joy of this is getting it in people's hands. I love if people open up a book and they see my stuff in it, and it helps them get there. It helps them mentally either play a game or get into a world of, like, you know what I mean? It sparks imagination. That's my whole job. So I love it when it happens. I love it when people get something that I worked on and they're like, hey man, whatever that painting was, that was it, man. It really got it going. The table started talking. We, and our time that we spent together was better and more enriched because of the art you made. Like, that's the main reason I do it. You know what I mean? So whenever it's not out there for the public to see, I get kind of bummed, but I understand. It's business. You got to do what you got to do. But that's why it's so cool to do personal work. Now I will have total control over all of it. How are the pages laid out? And like, what's the best, most, emotional way I can show this story beat or whatever. Like, that's really thrilling, and it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort. But all of those lessons that you learn through your personal work will help you enrich your skills to bring to more client work. And who knows, your personal project might be the thing that gets your dream job. Like, I might be able to publish this or, put it out there for everyone to see. An art director sees it and they hire me for whatever. Hey, we love that book that you made, man. Beautiful stuff. We love the storytelling. Would you like to be a, content developer on blank? Who knows? You what is it? The whole Michael Scott thing. You miss every shot you don't take. Wayne Gretzky. The Office reference right there. But it's true. You gotta do some stuff. You gotta put yourself out there. That's my time, man. Hope you guys are working on some cool stuff. Let me know in the comments if you have a decent balance between your personal work and your client work, or is all of your work right now personal? Do you want to own all of it and then you distribute it later? You own the rights to it. If you want to sell, basically you wrote the script, now you want to sell it off to be a movie. Go for it. But let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. I hope you're doing well and staying cool now the weather's getting hot again, especially here in Texas. But until next time, we will talk to you soon. Go make cool art, and we'll see you soon.